Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. My name is Aladdin, and today's stream is about ex Muslims' success stories. I would like you to call in or comment your success stories, no matter how minor or large they are. It could be anything relating to your journey with Islam, out of Islam, and so on. And if you comment something, I will try to keep up with the comments and bookmark them for later to read without interrupting the flow of the chat if that's the case. But nonetheless, I'll try to get to all the comments. And before we begin, I just wanted to mention so it is Ramadan, so happy Ramadan to those who celebrate it. And unfortunately, an unhappy Ramadan to a lot of people who are forced to observe a lot of the rituals of Ramadan against their own will. But nonetheless, I'm going to try to do my part here by creating a bunch more videos and streams in this month. And thanks to, well, credit goes to my Jasmine working behind the scenes, helping me with some things here and there. So, more videos to come, hopefully. So, stay tuned and I'll try to announce the live streams and videos as they go, but I'm not always going to be able to do that in time. So, just, check in on the channel every now and then if you'd like. So, let's begin with I've got two guests already waiting, and I have pinned the link to join in the live chat, so should be at the top of the live chat. I'll start with Rude Grass. I'm going to add them in three, two, one. Hey, Rude, how's it going?
Hi Aladdin, thanks for bringing me on again. I've been on one of your streams before, and this is my second time. So thanks for bringing me on. How are
Yeah,
you?
happy to have you. I am good. How about yourself?
I'm doing just great. I'm doing fine. Alhamdulillah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. Hold on, let me just close my window. I live in a main road, and people like to go like mock chicken. I don't know.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about you and what you'd like to share with us today.
Oh, sorry about that. I just had to close my window because I live on a main road, and
Mhm.
basically everyone on that main road likes to go the speed of light down that road, and it's loud as hell, and it's really distracting. So
No worries.
yeah. So this is about ex-Muslim success stories, and I guess I'll be here to share my story.
Your
I
audio is
guess
a
I
little
haven't.
bit lower than earlier, by the way. I
Oh,
don't
is
know if
it?
you're I don't know
Let
if you
me
were
check
closer to
that.
the mic before. All right.
Uh,
Don't worry about it. I'll adjust for it then. Go ahead.
yeah. No, because I have my headphone microphones. Cause, anyways, yeah. So you're doing this about ex-Muslim success stories. I wouldn't say I've reached peak success. Like, I'm still working towards some stuff. I'm still like a bit young, and all that. But uh, I'll share my story, I guess. So, do you want like anything specific, or should I just
No,
go on?
whatever. And
Um,
it's good to celebrate the little wins as well. So, don't minimize your successes.
yeah. So officially, I've been uh, an ex-Muslim for about 2 years. So I had this one time. I remember I came back home from traveling on holiday, and it was like a winter holiday or something. And I remember just thinking to myself, well, God, it, I just don't want to do this anymore. So I guess I didn't. Yeah, I guess.
What does this mean? You said you don't want to do this anymore.
So I didn't want to, be a Muslim anymore. I didn't want to submit to God as the definition. So I was just like, okay, I really don't want to do this anymore. Of course, I couldn't tell anyone at the time because uh, my parents, well, they're Muslim and everything. So I really can't tell anyone at the time. And I was just like, okay, I can do it. And to be frank, I didn't really care. Um,
Wait, I have a
I
question
was,
for you before you
yeah.
continue, because the phrasing of that was interesting to me. You said you didn't want to do this anymore, like submit to God, or this description of God, and so on. Do you? So do you believe in Allah, or do you believe that Islam
No,
is the truth? Yeah.
no, I'm an atheist, so I'm an agnostic atheist.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't. Uh, I also want to mention something else. So my path out of Islam isn't like the conventional one. Like kind of like I watched your live stream, on Life After Islam. I was actually watching it earlier today while I was uh doing my work, but
Mhm.
yeah, I was just watching in the background. Um, yeah, so I was watching it, and you said like you were kind of all the you had like your Twilight Zone, what you called it, and you had all the confusion and all the denial and everything. How you were like gaslighting yourself almost. I don't know, remember what you exactly said, and
Mhm.
because of all the indoctrination and all. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't really like that. I would say my parents really forced the religion on me. So I wasn't really indoctrinated at the time. I didn't really focus on it much. But then there was this one point where I was like, just like, but I was like, still, a Muslim. Like that's what I was, even though I didn't pray much or didn't read Quran much or anything. I was just still like, yeah, I'm a Muslim. And then at some point, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not. It's not what I believe. And I always knew there was something flawed with it. I remember once taking science class and hearing like the Earth is 13 billion, not the Earth, the universe is like 13 billion years old. And I'm like, well, the Quran says that it was created in 6 days, and the science book has a more logical argument than the Quran. So one of
Mhm.
us is wrong. And it was just kind of that was kind of my first doubt, but I didn't really resonate over it because at the time I had other stuff to focus on. I had school and everything. Yeah. Um, and then that's really all it was. And then back to 2 years ago when I left. So I just came back from travel at the time, and I was just like, I don't want to submit anymore. I don't want to be a Muslim. I don't want to do all that. And that was really it. But it didn't really resonate to me what it actually meant until uh, quarantine, 2020 quarantine, um, when the world fell into anarchy. Um, what it was Ramadan, and I remember um, seeing everyone around me in my community, they were fasting and everything and doing their things, and I was just doing my research at the time because Islam was really in your face. You can really avoid it. You can really avoid Quran. You can really avoid the thing. And I was doing my research, and I was like, maybe this is worse than I thought. And at the time, I didn't know about like all the horrible hadiths and everything, the child marriage and all the terrible verses in the Quran about beating your wife or whatever. I didn't really know about that. For all I knew at the time, the Quran was scientifically accurate. I hadn't made my research. I was just at the time, I just didn't want to submit to God. That was all that was.
You didn't. Well, I almost don't want to get into this part because at the point of the stream, we're going to talk about the success part of it. But I still want to understand. So you keep saying I didn't want to submit to God. That implies that
Yeah.
you believe in God,
No, so that was 2 years ago again.
right?
Um, that was the time when I don't want to submit to God, and I still did kind of, believe that there was a creator. I wasn't sure that maybe there was or wasn't a creator, and at the time again, I was about to say, I believed in some of the stuff for to an extent, and then quarantine came around, and then I started doing my research. I'm like, okay, I understand what the implication of this is, and I went forward with it,
Now, but
if
what I
that makes
want to
sense.
understand is, you say you didn't want to submit to God,
Mm,
right? So does that
yeah.
mean that you believed in some form of God that you knew if you don't submit to, you were going to be tortured for it, and you still didn't want to submit? Is that what you're saying?
In one way or another, I guess that's yeah,
So
yeah.
you
At the
processed in
time,
your mind that you're ready to go to hell because you don't want
I
to
was
obey.
I was very I was very reckless. I don't know what was going on, But again, I still knew that there was something flawed with it. I told you earlier that I knew about the 6 days thing. Uh, so I knew that there was going to be something wrong. There was something, that didn't fit right. And also another thing that always didn't resonate with me was that, like, why did God reveal Himself so many times? Like, there's 3,000 times He revealed
Mm,
Himself, but my one's the only time it's correct. So I was kind of like, so it
right.
was, yeah, I was kind of like ready to go to hell in a way, but at the same time, the thought process in my mind was that I was reckless and I didn't really have I was very young at the time, still kind of technically am. Um, and sorry, what was I
Yeah.
about to
So
say?
you eventually left Islam.
Yeah.
How did that go for you, and what would you count as a success in your process?
So when I finally like started doing my research and everything, um, I came across all the horrible stuff and I was like, yeah, okay, now I understand what the implication of this is. Now I understand why maybe this religion isn't actually like the way I want it to be, the way I want to live my life, sorry. And um, the success in that really came when I started to smell the liberty, quote unquote. Um, you know, it's freedom from religion. I finally found like a name for myself. I kind of didn't have to live by God's way. Because everyone fears hell, even though I didn't. I was ready to go to hell. There's still like in the back of my mind, still a little bit of fear. Obviously, nobody wants to be tortured. Don't think that would be a
Mhm.
good thing. But um, there was sorry.
So, did you weigh it in your mind, like I might go to hell, but the upside is so and so? Like, what made
I
you reckless and think I am ready to go to hell? Because what's the other side of it?
so I guess at the time I didn't really have the
How old
side
were
of
you, by
the
the way, if you don't mind me asking? Or at the time, how old were you?
I was let me count, um about 16, 17, must have been something like that.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm now in uni. I live on my own, so
right.
um but yeah, I was about 16, 17. You would expect a 16, 17-year-old to have like maybe more, a little bit look into the future, but for some reason I
Not
didn't.
necessarily. A lot of 16-year-olds and even a lot of
Yeah,
25-year-olds still haven't figured a lot of things out. So I don't blame you for any of your thought process. I'm just trying to
yeah.
understand sometimes. Yeah.
It's really dumb. I look back at it now and just like, ugh, what the hell was I thinking?
Well, you were trying to fight a lot of indoctrination that you were born into, and you're still afraid
And
of this idea of hell.
yeah, yeah, and it wasn't really indoctrination per se, because again, nobody really forced it onto me, and leaving it was kind of, I say like I left and I was ready to go
Mhm.
to hell, but in reality, it was just to me, now I look back at it, more feels like I just left it and really didn't change much in my life, except now I say I'm not a Muslim, and I'm finally free of all the indoctrination that I did have,
Mhm.
which is the fear of going to hell. If I don't follow this one man's words, I will burn at the pits of hell forever.
Yeah, that's the indoctrination I was talking about earlier when you
Yeah,
said
that
you didn't have any, but the fear of hell being instilled in you up until now, that's the indoctrination, right? That
yeah,
little bit in the back of your mind.
that's right. Yeah, so that was pretty much the success part though, really, when I started feeling the liberty of it. Obviously at the time I was still living with my parents, so I couldn't really do much. um there wasn't much liberty, so to speak, but the liberty was really in my brain, in my head. It was just like, finally I can think whatever I want, and there's nobody listening to me. That realization that, oh my god, there's nobody plugging headphones into my head and listening to all my thoughts. Oh
Right.
my god. Like, I was so happy to find that out. And yeah, that's pretty much
What
how
was it
far
about
I've
that someone is always listening to you? What was it about it
so
that bothered you?
obviously, like, your thoughts should be private.
Mhm.
He said, "Oh my God, I saw that." Yeah. Astaghfirullah, sorry, I'm blaspheming too much. I know. But as so what was your question again? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, my question was, if I can remember it now, yeah, so someone listening to your thoughts all the time,
Mm.
what was it that was, you said it was freeing when you realized that that's not true. Well, what
Yeah.
was restricting about that, or what bothered you about it?
So we were always taught that Allah is all powerful, all knowing, all knowing underlined. That's the important bit. So he knows what I'm thinking, which means, you know, he basically can hear into my head, which kind of didn't make sense to me, but um sorry, no, not that. Um It's kind of I kind of feared that, like, shouldn't my thoughts be a little private at least? Like, maybe that's a little weird if you keep, stalking me, so to speak. And obviously, when I was younger and I was still like convinced by Islam, I was kind of like, yeah, but he's the almighty judge, so what? But then when I started developing my individuality, I was like, much rather I didn't. And that's what bothered me about it. Really, it's like maybe I should have a little bit of privacy. Like, does this guy not know any boundaries?
Yeah, I found that to be ironic that, that the example is always like, oh, you're like an obsessive ex. What kind of obsessive God, just follows every single person because they really want to know, do you like me? Do you like me? Do you really, really like me? Like all the time. Are you thinking good thoughts about me? How dare you not?
Yeah,
So
that's actually one of the things I later on realized. So when I first left, it was just because some of I just didn't want again. I just didn't want to be a servant to a god. But then later on, I started thinking about it. I was like, yeah, well, free will and predestination. This man is insecure about his power because he wants to know if I like him or not. Someone in the comments said he's so clingy. Exactly.
yeah,
I
so
was just and I was just like, yeah, that. And when I think of that, so it was kind of the flaws really came later on. All this stuff when I started actually thinking about it instead of, yeah, well, I'll go to hell. So what? I'm still like 16. I'll have time to repent later, more or less.
so your success
Mm.
was that liberty of realizing that no one is obsessively stalking your thoughts. Um, what did that change? What did that manifest as in your life? What does it look like or feel like to have that success?
So at the time when I left Islam, I said I was living with my parents, so I couldn't really do much about it. I still lived my life like I did. I went to school, I sat my exams, I studied, I did whatever. Um, but then when I moved out and I was able to actually take control of my own life to a certain control to a certain extent. I started basically I could not pray Ramadan. I could, not fast. Um, I don't have to, what is it? I don't have to pray. I don't have to fast. I don't have to be restricted. I can finally eat bacon. I can eat and drink and smoke whatever I want. And obviously, I don't drink and smoke. I think those are horrible habits, regardless of what's haram and not. But I can finally eat what I wanted, do what I wanted, dress as I like. And even though I'm not, the dressing really isn't on me. That's really more on the females. They're the ones who have trouble with that. But still, it's like I can finally eat what I want, drink what I want, etc.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you have this freedom, and I hope that you keep enjoying it for a long time. And
Mm.
um, yeah, and I hope that you continue. I don't know if this does this topic come to your mind often in your life. Does it still affect your day to day life, like with family relations and so on, or yeah.
Yeah, it does. So I remember one time before, I was sitting with my mom, and at the time, this was actually very recent, as with my parents, and I was sitting with my mom. my parents still don't. I still haven't told my parents, even though I'm in university right now. I still haven't told my parents. And yesterday, my mom was like, "Mom, uh, what do you think about the marriage of the Prophet to Aisha?" I just wanted to know her opinion on it because I didn't even like. I tried to be subtle about it, obviously, and she was just like, "Yeah, but the life expectancy then was like very is much smaller than it is now, and therefore it justifies it." I don't know. She gave me something like that, right? And
Yeah.
I was just like, "That's my mom, that's my mom. She's she's good at math, she's a good engineer. She's my mom. Obviously, I love her, but I'm looking at her like, that's my mom. Like,
Like
hello?
you don't recognize her?
Yeah, it's like, what? Like, you just justified a child marriage, and that's horrible. But like, that's my mom.
Hmm.
It really, it didn't really help with how my relationship with my mom. It's really it feels very distant with my mom, not just for that, but because she's a very devout Muslim. She prays 5 times a day, she fasts, she does all that stuff, and I'm just like, that's my mom.
Hmm.
And I really love her, but it just I just it gets in the way is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that it gets in the way less and less of time, or you find some kind of equilibrium. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's the reality of it. With the little wins, there are little or big losses as well. But it gets better. It gets better with
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I
Yeah.
do plan to actually start. You actually inspired me to do this. Starting a channel, kind of like you. Not this YouTube channel. This YouTube channel is an alt account. I just do all the stuff that I don't want other people knowing.
Mhm.
Um, I did plan to start a channel once I'm done and I have I'm able to actually fully take control of my life.
Well, I encourage you before you do that, before you start, you know, um, put yourself out there in that way. I encourage you
Hmm.
to get in discussions more. I know there are a lot of spaces. I don't know exactly. I don't participate in them, but on Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse or whatever it may be, uh, get in these discussions. Not necessarily debate, to formulate your thoughts a little better. Give yourself time before you start, talking about the topic to have your own more solid opinions about the topic as well. And then, yeah, and then I wish you luck from there.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'll do that then. I'll start to get more active on the social medias. One of my biggest
Yeah.
fears actually is that someone will be able to trace me back to that. Obviously, you do that, and I don't that I've heard of. Um, you haven't. You're still safe. I don't know. Again, I don't live with you, so but it's still like one of my fears. Like, oh, what if someone finds out who I am?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that something so benign can get you in such trouble. That
Yeah,
it's not even a consideration for people from other backgrounds, but it is what it is.
it is. It is.
Yeah. Well, thank you
Yeah.
for calling in today. I appreciate you giving us your time and a
Yeah.
little bit of your story.
Yeah, I'll be back again on if I have the opportunity. But thank you for having me. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, take
goodbye.
care. Bye bye. All right. So we got one person waiting. Count Dracula is waiting to join. In the meantime, I'll read a couple of comments. And yeah, somebody was asking for a timeline. I'll try to have it between, around 10 minutes or maybe less if the person doesn't, want to stay on for longer. They don't have to. 10 minutes or so that we can pace, how people join. And yeah, there's there's a bunch of alt accounts that have been showing up with like fake, well, not fake, some kind of parody of my name or like the plants behind me, and I find that very funny. Apostate Allah beans. Okay, so I'm gonna answer some comments. So problem, however you spell that, can you answer a question? You say that your channel is a safe space for ex-Muslims. How come then you talk about Islam? So there's a lot of spaces where an ex-Muslim is just like any other person where Islam doesn't come up, right? There's a lot of, it could be about their hobbies, it could be about um, politics, or I mean, politics is a bad choice. There's a lot of spaces for that. However, a lot of ex-Muslims have religion in their life imposed, either imposed on them or they're in contact with it every single day, all the time. So of course they need a space where they can talk about it. So this is why this is a space where they can talk about it. So this goes back to the same question of, if you left Islam, where are you talking about it? And it's been answered so many times. And it's not for everybody. Not everybody needs to be here if they left Islam, but those who find value in it, those who use it as a transition stage, they would be here. I personally, I don't need this anymore to process anything about me leaving Islam. This is just me hanging around because I know what it's like, and I think I have some tools that would help other people to, in that position that I used to be in. But for everyone else, I fully expect them to, unless they have some kind of a passion for studying religion, or they have reason to care about this long term. Most people, they're just passing through this kind of space. So happy to provide that. So there are some people like the following person who just keep coming to my channel. There are Muslims who keep coming to my channel just to keep repeating stuff like dua, or Islam is going to win. Islam is the biggest, fastest growing religion. And you're not helping anybody. Um, but I wanted to comment on this sentiment specifically, which is Islam is the biggest, fastest growing religion. You're enabling racist and discriminatory narratives about immigrants and about you. Because if you're proud of this, right, that you have this mentality that we're so happy that you think that it's because of conversion, but mostly it's because of having a lot of children. And you're making people nervous that if I see Muslims in my neighborhood, who knows, one generation down or in a few years, there'll be more and more and more. And before I know it, they'll be imposing their rules, which I used to always think of as some kind of racist nationalist narrative. And in some cases, it is. And in some cases, we can see what's happening in the UK already. There's a lot of turbulence caused by, a lot of Muslim communities that are empowered by these numbers that turn to violence against blasphemers and other things like that. So you're empowering that narrative, and I'm not going to defend Muslims against it if Muslims are perpetuating it. So I just wanted to repeat that. And also, find something better to do than come here. And 2012 STVN says, are Muslims punished for not fasting in Islamic states? So it really depends. So in a lot of places, there's no official punishment or anything, but there was this post I came across recently on Facebook. So this post is by some open-minded women's advocacy kind of group on Facebook in Egypt, I believe, or could have been Jordan, I don't remember. And it was just saying, let's, for lack of a better term, let's normalize people not wanting to fast. Don't get in their business, right? If you see someone not fasting, just let people be. All the comments were just inflammatory and saying, oh, so you want people to do bad things. Oh, before you know it, we're gonna be letting people do so and so and so. And I don't want to mention these things and get demonetized. So even when there is no punishment or violence from family members, which often there would be, there's a lot of societal pressure, and those people get harmed in so many ways, including just the fact that everyone thinks they're more than justified. The whole society thinks they're more than justified to give you shit for wanting to eat. So yeah, it's unfortunately a big issue. So, uh, and yeah, Mentos says, to start with, most converts don't understand what Islam is. When they see the reality, they run away. That's happened on my channel, right? And Rachel's a good friend of mine now, and it's happened so many times that they're told this watered down version of Islam, and especially if they're converts, they might be told, "Oh, Islam doesn't hate gay people," and so on, and then they realize the truth behind it. So, oh well. Anyway, I'm gonna take the next caller. I'll take Count Dracula. I'm adding you in 3, 2, 1. Hey, Count, how's it going?
Hi, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
My voice. All right, that's great. I'm an ex-Muslim atheist. I said this before in the private chat. my God, I'm so nervous.
No need to be. Yeah.
So I have some, because I wanted to, like, I don't have anywhere else to speak about this, so I really want to get my story out there. And so I did some notes to kind of map out what I'm going to say. And so I just wanted to say, like, first of all, there are like way too many factors that contributed to me deconverting. Or like it happened like a few months ago. I think, yeah, it happened like 3 months ago, and I was like sitting there just thinking about it, like, okay, is it sensible or is it logical for me to label myself as a Muslim? And I was like, after all the research I did, after everything I know now, I was like, no, there's no way. So here are some of the things that well, contributed to that. So yeah, so last year, in I think it was April, yeah, April 2021. So I got scammed. I basically I think I was involved in some Bitcoin. I know it sounds like it has nothing to do, but trust me, it does. I got involved in some Bitcoin scam, like so it kind of pissed me off. So then a few months later,
Wait,
like,
sorry to interrupt, but was there anyone in this scam involved called Mo who call
no,
themselves Mo now? Because
what
I'm
the
sorry
hell?
to any like Muhammad's out there, but every time it's not about Muhammad, the
No,
name.
it was an
Yeah.
Indian guy.
Okay. 'Cause
They were Indians.
there's a lot of crypto bros who call themselves Mo, not just Muhammad, but like they go by Mo. So I don't know if that's truly a stereotype or not. But anyway, go ahead.
No, they were definitely Indians. Like I
Okay.
could, and it was so. God, it disturbs me now that I think about it again, because I knew it was, but I was so desperate again. But whatever. So, so yeah, that happened, and then like few months later, there was a video on Facebook I saw about Adam and Eve. It was called Adam and Eve. No, in the story like of Adam and Eve in the Bible, the snake is actually God, not Satan. And so I was like, wait, what the hell? And so this is the random thing that I did. I don't know why I did this. I was so lazy. This video was on Facebook. I decided to look it up on YouTube. And then, because the guy was available on YouTube, so I decided to watch his video. I don't know why I did that. It was so strange. And then that random act led me to discover AP's video on like the recommended tab. It was called Allah's Paradox. And so I clicked on that. The moment I clicked on that video, basically my entire life changed. So yeah, it was. So yeah, it happened maybe June, July of 2021. Yeah, and so yeah, so I started watching that. I watched some of his videos. Then after a few days of like getting to know him, like watching some of his videos, I called my mom and I told her like, oh my, like, did you know that did you know that Muhammad like did all these things? It was so cringy. Like, I don't know why. That was the first thing I decided to do, to call her and tell her that Muhammad married a child. Like, first of all, it disturbed me because I wasn't being defensive. I don't know why. I saw those videos. I didn't act like the average Muslim. I was like, oh, he's got a point. So it was very strange. So yeah, I called my mom and I told her about those stuff, and she told me that, well, that guy's paid by the Jews and whatever. So then of course I continued watching him. Yeah, so I continued watching AP, and I discovered, of course, some other YouTubers along the way. What else? So yeah, apart from watching AP and David Dodd, the main thing that did it for me was religious debates. I was so hooked on them. I was like binge watching every single debate I found. Like, you know, the Four Horsemen, the like Hitchens, Dawkins, yeah, the Four Horsemen. I didn't see the fourth guy. I don't know what's his name, Daniel something, whatever. I saw Dawkins, Hitchens, and Sam Harris. Those are the three. I saw some of their debates, and well, other debates on, you know, modern day debates. That channel that hosts mostly religious topics. So I was very hooked to that, and of course, including the debate with our favorite Muslim apologist, Daniel Hakikaju. So there's that, and I watched that as well. So, and of course, then I think I discovered your channel. I think it was last year, but it was very late. Like I was already into the ex-Muslim extravaganza. How do I say it? Rabbit hole. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I didn't see you on TikTok. I only saw you on YouTube. You were yeah. I remember. It was the first time you went on AP's channel. Remember?
Right. Yeah.
Like that's when I discovered you, because I only follow AP for
Right.
So yeah. Again, I know I'm all over the place, so I just wanted
That's okay. Yeah.
to like, if you have anything to like.
Yeah.
ask-
I want to ask you.
so,
So it was 3 months ago, and that's how it started. You felt the urge to talk to your mother about it for some reason. I know what that.
oh no, it wasn't. Wait, let me clarify. It was.
Yeah.
I talked to it as soon, like it was last year, as soon as I found out about
Right. Okay.
AP. Then I talked to her. But 3 months ago, I sat with myself, thinking, just staring at a wall and thinking,
Right.
is it reasonable for me to call myself a Muslim? Yeah.
Right.
And I said no. The answer was no, of course.
Well, I think that urge to talk to someone like your mother is because, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've
Mm.
heard, it's because you trust that person, and you're kind of looking for comfort there. You're looking for them to either tell you that something's completely wrong, like that's the person who taught you things growing up, right? So you
Mm.
wanted them to teach you what it is that you're missing here, or for them to comfort you and say, you know what, you have a point, and I am this person of reason that you think of, so it's comforting, right? Is that close, or?
Well, no, it's well, yeah, I guess, because but she was I think I didn't call her actually. She called me, and then I brought it up randomly. Now that I
Mhm.
remember, I just
Mhm.
brought it up like this randomly. She's the one who called me first. But yeah, I asked her about the marriage thing, and also about the scientific mistakes. I don't know why I asked her that. She said, "Don't listen to those Islamophobes. They're YouTubers. They're paid by the Jews." That's what
Right.
she said. But the I didn't listen to her because she said this. She didn't say this because he's an ex-Muslim. She said this also because he's a YouTuber. She says this about all YouTubers, whether they're like again like they hate Islam or whatever. Like she says this about every YouTuber. All YouTubers are paid by the Jews, according to her.
There's a lot of anti-Semitic tropes and conspiracy theories and stuff in a lot of our communities, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to also ask, so what was which part of that was your success story, and or I don't think you've gotten to that yet, and how
Right.
has that improved your life, or where's the success part of leaving? I mean, leaving in and of itself I know can be a success, but what about it exactly?
That's a good question.
Mhm.
I don't know. So I left, and then I don't know. I wouldn't say I left. I just said this doesn't really bring me anything to my life. That's what I thought. Like it doesn't really bring me happiness. I think if I base myself on logic and science, that would be better for my life. So I guess that switch of mindset can be called as success, kind of. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And how's your life changed since? So you said Islam
Mm.
doesn't bring you happiness, and now you've left Islam. How has of course you're not going to suddenly become happy in 3 months, or significantly
No,
happier.
definitely.
Yeah, that's not how happiness works. But yeah, so how did things change for you?
So then so first things I went into I saw some self-improvement YouTubers. I mean, basically, I spend most of my free time watching YouTube. That's what I do. I think anything that
That's not a fantastic way to spend your time.
no, I know, but
Yeah.
so then I stumbled upon some a
Mm.
self-improvement YouTuber, and he basically talks about the red pill, like how to like improve mental health and your physical health. And so I decided to like educate myself on that, because when I was a religious person, I was like, my mindset was, well, it doesn't matter what I do, like in any case I'm going to go to heaven. and like this life is nothing but a test, so I might as well just do. I'll just do the bare minimum, right? I'll just do whatever is good, whatever is considered good, and get the hasanats, enough hasanat to go to heaven. And
Wait, so
whatever
when you say
is,
the red pill, I'm not too familiar with that, except I've always
uh,
heard it in the problematic
right.
circles of, men's rights and things like that. So what does that mean to you?
Oh, red pill, just like to me, it's improving your physical health and mental health, and also like learning how to talk to girls, basically. Yeah,
Interesting. So how so has that improved things for you in real life? Have you applied any of these methods?
I only just got started because because I'm a student. Like, I didn't really have enough time to like go out and start speaking to girls. It's like
Well, I know
I'm
this is
very
not
introverted.
exactly like on topic or anything, but I just want to,
Yeah,
give you a heads up. Um,
right.
so I don't know that much about this red pill stuff. I've seen some things here and there, um, but I can tell you from experience that the way to get women is not to hear what other guys have to say about the way to get women, you know? So that's just my opinion on it. I feel like
Mm,
guys who are able to get women, I mean, like find a good partner, right? To some extent, if that's what
right.
you're after, they
Mm.
usually don't like start talking about it, especially not in that context. So that's just, my 2 cents on the topic. Yeah.
Mm. Well, I guess because the red pill is also known for being like heavily misogynistic or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean,
But I
just
think,
like the
yeah.
concept itself, even if you take away the more obviously in your face kind of toxic parts of it, I think as a concept, if you want to understand women, and you shouldn't be trying to understand how to get a person in general, or like how to do better with a category of people, I think you should maybe try to focus on understanding the specific person you're interested in. And also, you wouldn't get that advice from men, you'd get it from women, probably. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I
Mm.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
I
so
feel
so
weird because this is not the focus. Like,
I know, yeah. So
I
sorry
don't
if
even
you don't
watch.
understand.
I don't even watch Red Pill. It's just one guy, and he
Yeah.
he talks about dating and stuff. Like, that's it. It's not the
Hmm.
main thing that improved my life or whatever.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention that, because I know that some people, they might get swayed, and it doesn't sound like you are. You don't strike me as that kind of person, but uh,
Mm,
you'd be surprised. Like, I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I left YouTube on. That was a few years ago, and autoplay was on. And before I knew it, it was some videos about, I don't know, red pill stuff and things like that. And I could see how it's easy for someone who's just passively watching to, get sucked into it. So just giving people a heads up, don't passively watch this stuff, and, just take a step back every now and then and reassess. Yeah.
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 So, just a side note. Like you said, you call it success story, right?
Hmm.
But you also say you're not trying to deconvert people.
Correct. So the success part is not exactly about, like, I deconverted, and that's, or I got somebody out of Islam, and that's the successful part. It's more like, if that was an issue in your life, if Islam is not an issue in your life, then it's not really a success to leave it. But if it's already
Mm,
an issue in your life and leaving it is part of that success, there are still a lot of hurdles in the way. So I don't want to give people examples. I want to hear it from others, but a short example would be, how you reconcile things with a family member or a specific friend or things like that. So that would count as a success to me.
mm, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have
'Cause,
any of those?
yeah.
Yeah.
I know a what?
So do you have any of those? Like, has your interaction with anyone else, your friends, anything, has that changed?
Oh, I tell everyone. I basically had Muslim friends. I tell everyone, even my brother. I told him that I don't believe anymore. And yeah, I don't. It didn't change anything. It's just like, yeah, do whatever you want. Like, who gives a shit? But of course, I didn't tell my parents because because I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what might happen. But yeah, it didn't change our relationship. In fact, it became better because now we have different opinions. Uh, we can have debates, although they're not very. The debates that I've had with my brother and my friends, like, they're not they're not very effective.
Well, I'm glad that they were, so open to it, and it didn't really get
Well,
in the way
because
of your relationship.
we're in a Western country. I study abroad. I don't study in my native country,
Right.
like, obviously. So
Are they practicing to a high degree, or is there a little bit of
absolutely fucking no. They're not.
yeah.
They don't pray 5 times a day. That
I had
is
an inkling,
they
yeah.
definitely not.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. But nonetheless, people can still be not very practicing, not very religious, and still dogmatic about it. So either way, I'm glad that it went well for you.
Yeah, but it bothers me because like some of them like they really the things that are considered sinful, like drinking alcohol, doing drugs, stuff like that, they do all of that shit, and yet they call themselves Muslim. I'm like, why not? Like, I'm an atheist right now, and I haven't even done any of these things.
Right.
Like, what the hell? Like you might
At
as well
least
call
you're
yourself an
more
atheist. Like,
consistent,
what the hell?
Like they're not very consistent with their beliefs. Yeah.
I don't understand. It's
Yeah. Oh well. Well, I'm glad that this transition hasn't been, the most difficult on you, and yeah, thank you for sharing this with us.
no problem. Is it possible to if I come on next week?
Sure, yeah. I'll obviously a priority would go to other callers who haven't yet
To new
gotten the call,
people, yeah.
but if you can always join and see see how it goes. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, glad to share my story.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, got a few callers in the back. Oh, a bunch of callers. So yeah, I'm going to try to limit it to 10 minutes each, just to make sure that everybody gets a shot at showing up. So about what somebody was asking earlier. So you say that this is a safe space for ex-Muslims. Apostate Allah Beans is saying, yeah, this is like my weekly dose of sense of belonging I like in this community. I like this community. Well, I'm happy to hear that. And I can tell you from experience that the more you find community elsewhere, the less that you're kicked out of existing community that you had, the less you're going to need to rely on a community like this. But in the meantime, or if that's the only way that you can get that, I'm very glad that you're able to have it. And one more comment before I get to the next caller. Which Ramadan food do you miss at home, or do you cook any special dishes? So I don't want to share mine because that would give away too much about my background. I mean, generically, I can say some samosas, right? Sambusas. I like that a lot, but have I cooked it? No, I have not. And people can share their answers in the comments as well. Okay, so I am taking the next caller, the Blasphemer. I'm adding you in 3, 2, 1. Hey, how are you doing today?
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. Do you hear me like clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, yeah. It's really nice to talk to you. I always wanted to call, but it's just that whenever you have like a live session going on, I'm busy or something.
Well, I'm glad the timing worked out this time.
But then I saw you today and I was like, okay, I'm not going to miss this.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah, the main reason I'm here is not because I need to kind of share my story. It's not from the need, but I realize there are lots of ex-Muslims out there, quite young ones, and also women and men, both of them. They're desperate, and oftentimes they don't really have cooperative community around them, friends or family who are willing to understand them. So the reason why I'm here today, because I managed to come out of Islam and also like build a career for myself. And as a woman, I managed to kind of break the taboo, what a woman can do or not, how far a woman can go. And I personally feel that these stories will help the other ex-Muslims to find out how they can help themselves. So not all stories will like match each other. So maybe my story could be realized by somebody else and use some of the tips or come up with ideas that may help them to go through and plan further in the future. So that is the reason I'm here.
So you want to share some of your experience, right, to be able to help the younger ex-Muslims have some guidance through this.
Sure. So I was born in a very, very strict Sunni Muslim family in a Muslim majority country. And of course, I can't give out the name of this country because of the security reason. Yeah, and from a very, very young age, I had to memorize the Quran. Memorize means memorize, like not understanding, because understanding too much is a problem. So I was never really encouraged to understand it, rather just memorize and yeah. And the main problem began when I reached my puberty, So the first time I got my menstruation, the restrictions really started. As a child, I did not feel that much. But as soon as the puberty hit, everybody around me started changing. What I should wear, if I should like laugh loudly, if I should go out and play in the afternoons. Like I just felt like my entire world fell apart. And I was like urging everybody, like, is it possible to go back, like go back to where I was so that I could like just continue being a child or something. So yeah, so I wasn't allowed to go out and play anymore as I started growing up, and I had a very, very lonely childhood. Most of the time I had to like just stay with my sisters or actually inside home. And but I used to wear hijab and I used to pray 5 times a day until one day I came across a person who kind of first like sparked a question in my mind. He asked me like, do you know why you're wearing this? That was his question. And yeah, I was like, I tried to explain him that, God wants us to, but why does God wants you to wear it? Like, what's the point? So I went back home and I was a very scientific minded child. So I loved science. I loved like doing scientific experiments, reading science books. But that question kind of began changing me. I realized that I don't know much about my own religion. I know nothing. All I know are the surahs, how to recite them, and all I know is to kind of follow what others say or how others want me to think. But so there are these parallel things were going on. First of all, I realized I'm a different kind of human being just because I'm a woman, and all the restrictions of the world started coming towards me. I started realizing that my life is going to be a very, very restrictive life. And the second, that person implanted like a seed of doubt in my heart, like really, I know nothing about my religion. And the third is the attraction towards science. I loved maths, I loved physics, I loved biology, I loved understanding science. These 3 things basically began the journey of coming out of Islam because I started questioning the very idea of God. And I was only 16 years old back then. But at the same time, I did not have the kind of, deep knowledge to understand if Islam is wrong or not. But I started realizing if there is a God, if there is a creator, why would he create different rules for me? And sometimes cruel rules that my male cousins can go play and do whatever they want, but I can't because I'm a woman. So I missed a lot of things in my childhood just for being a female child. And at around very, very young age, I came out of home and I got a scholarship to study abroad, of course, in science. And later on, I successfully became a scientist. And that journey was like about 10, 12 years long journey, But then I had to go like step by step. And as I was reading more and more and more, my denial started fading out, and I started realizing this entire thing is an organized lie, and it is so well organized that people with general knowledge can't really understand what the problem is. You really need to sit down and kind of go step by step and track things, and then you start realizing what the problems are. But once I came out, the most difficult part was to go through that period of isolation and panic. That was fortunately a very short period in my case because by the time my denial started fading out, I was already an independent person. I had a job. I already had like an established scientific career. I had a strong community of scientists who are non-religious. But still, it was very difficult because now I was panicked that would my family accept me?
Well, did you have
And
trouble getting to that position of studying and becoming part of that scientific community? Did you have trouble doing that as a Muslim woman?
well, actually, to be honest, I always told everybody around me that my understanding of God is very different. So my understanding of the God Allah was very different from other people. So by the time I came to study, let's say, bachelor's degree, I already rejected the Allah of Quran. I already was convinced that Quran, Hadith, these are all man-made. But still, I was in some kind of a spiritual kind of Muslim, you can say. Like I still believed maybe, just maybe, people corrupted these books, but maybe there is still a God out there. So I did not dispose that God concept. I was calling that God Allah. Yeah, and I was like randomly just sometimes when I feel like it, like praying like salat or something, but not doing it like anymore 5 times a day, maybe once a day. So the final blow was, I think, when my PhD was almost over, and I had a very, very, very interesting evening sitting down and thinking about this whole thing with a friend. We were both, of course, like talking about science, and all of a sudden the interdiscussion went towards God. And yeah, so in that discussion, basically, I realized that I'm not a believer anymore, because there is no way I can call myself anymore Muslim because I don't believe any of the central texts. I'm quite convinced those are human-made. And I can clearly see the errors, scientific errors you find in the Quran and Hadith and whatever. So yeah, so about a year I had this period of panic. I was very, very afraid to tell my mom and my dad, And this period was very difficult, Aladdin, because I'm a woman. So the men in my family never really supported my education. They never supported. My father never funded my education. It's my mother who did. And most of my education was covered by scholarships. And I had to work very, very hard. Like I had to do my university, and after that, I had to work part-time as a teacher or a trainer to earn extra money. So I worked about 18 to 20 hours a day, like including the university studies and research. And eventually, when I graduated, completed my education, then I came out. I told my closest family members that, well, I'm not a Muslim anymore. So you have to either suck it up, or you have to just accept the fact that this is how I am and I'm not going to change. Yeah, well, actually, in the beginning, I think my mother was a bit confused. She was like, "Why do you think that way? Don't you think there is like still possibility? There is Allah. Why do you think that way?" But why she didn't become very irritated towards me is because she knew I read a lot. She knew that I never accepted anything without studying deeply.
So
So
she
she knew.
trusted your method and judgment, basically, right?
Exactly. So she always noticed that how methodical I was, no matter what topic I'm talking about. I never talk about it until I know it very well. She knew that from a very, very early in my life. She noticed that. So she never ever questioned my judgment that Islam is indeed like man-made religion. But she was still like, what happens to a believer that is very difficult to accept it. So she asked me like, don't you think there is some other explanation? And then I said like, Mom, I'm gonna buy you a Quran in a language you understand, and it's a gift from me. And you just promised me that every day we're gonna read 2 pages for me.
So up until that point, she's never read the Quran, like
Never.
in her language.
No, never.
Yeah.
So she started reading in her language, and trust me, she didn't have to read the whole Quran. She just read until something like the first chapter, and then she was like very irritated, and she said like, do you have like any recommendation, any particular chapter I should read? And I was like, just jump to Surah An-Nisa. It's about you, by the way.
Yeah.
You don't have to read all. I mean, you are a woman, and she's very, very strong, educated woman. I was like, just jump there, read the tafsirs, read the relevant hadiths and just let me know how you feel. We can have a friendly discussion. And she was out of Islam in just few days.
You know what's funny here is she bought her mom a Quran. Great idea. I'm thinking, what a horrible thing. You wouldn't believe what this ex-Muslim bought her mother, a Quran, and that was enough to get her out of Islam. Like that was just reading the Quran was enough to get her out of Islam, huh?
Exactly. Nothing else. Just that. Like I did not have a single argument with her. Actually, she always knew that I'm respectful. She always knew I believed in human rights. She always knew that no matter what I talk about, I first read about it. So she did not have the doubt that I'm not just jumping into a conclusion. And since I'm a scientist, she did not even doubt that I know definitely very good about what I'm researching on. And I told her clearly that, just look at this. What Quran is saying, this is not how it is. I'm working on it, so I know that's how it is. And she was like, okay, I can't argue there, but like, what if there has been a mistake or something? Maybe one or two things got corrupted. And I was like, are you sure that's Quran we are talking about?
So she started doubting that the Quran was preserved then. Like,
Yeah.
that's her way to keep her faith then. Or
Yeah.
the first attempt to keep her faith.
Exactly. And then the next step is like, why not we just like, you just read it 2 pages at a time, and then you come back to me and just share how you feel. And we could discuss and we could share ideas to each other. But she was out of Islam in just less than a month, actually.
Wow.
Like she's educated.
Yeah.
She's a very strong woman. She funded my education when my father did not. She said, no, my daughter is going to get an education. I don't care about what you say. But my father and the men in my family, they did everything in their power to stop my education, starting from mentally abusing my mother, then
sorry to hear that.
defunding my education, starting from mental bullying. There had been years that my mom didn't go to my neighbors' houses because she was paranoid that they will start backtalking about me. They would say that your daughter will never come back to the country because she's now gone out of your hand.
Mm-hmm.
So so sending me unmarried was their biggest concern, because women are not supposed to come abroad unmarried, and they should have like a husband with them who can become the guardian, can control the woman. And yeah, so I refused to get married when I was about 22, 23. There was huge mental torture. And sometimes I would just cry in my lab when I couldn't take the bully from the family. And then I realized that I need to cut off these relatives out of my life. So I started cutting them off, and I started making friends with the other scientists and other academicians, and started finding more positive-minded people. And eventually, when I'm out of Islam, my mom then leaves within 1 month, and by now, in just last 2 years, 8 more people in my family left.
Wow.
Yeah, 8 more people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about the narrative that Islam is spreading and so on? Do you think you're a scientist? I don't know what field of science you're in, and that's not what I'm asking about. But do you think that mathematically that is sustainable, the spread of Islam, or do you think that this apostasy is going to spread like a virus?
Well, as you know, the statistics say that the number of Muslims are increasing worldwide is because of the high fertility rate of Muslims, and that's a fact. The more poorer nations you go to, the more is the fertility rate. And if you look at the level of education of Muslim women, is the lowest no matter which territory you go. Like compared to non-Muslim women, is the Muslim women are always like much low on education. As a result, what happens is that the fertility rate is very high among Muslims. But this is now dropping in territories where women have more like access to education and equal work opportunities and stuff like that, and access to health, access to contraceptives. So definitely in most of the territories where Muslim women have these facilities, there the fertility rate is dropping. On the other hand, there are extremely poverty-stricken Muslim countries in Africa, for example, and Afghanistan, where the fertility rate is really high still now. Because
Right.
women simply don't have those facilities there. They are still under the control of men. Now, about the apostasy rate, it's very high. It's higher than what the statistics show you. I can guarantee you about that.
Because
Like,
none of your family members are going to show up on any statistics,
they
right?
want, and they are some of the brightest, most educated people out there.
Hmm.
So I didn't have to even, for example, go into any kind of hassle to kind of tell them that, hey, Islam makes no sense. They came to me.
Hmm.
Actually, they came to me because they started noticing that I don't follow the religion anymore. And I took out Islam from my all documents, you know.
You know,
So,
that tells you a lot. There's a lot of Muslims who are curious. Like even they
yeah,
come
yeah,
to this channel, not the ones who come to spam comments, but they
right.
seek us out and they ask, like it's been on their mind on some extent, or the first time they hear a doubt, like you, the first time somebody, it wasn't even a doubt, somebody asked you, why do you wear the hijab? A very simple question. So yeah, I think a lot of Muslims are just on the verge of having these thoughts or exploring them, and once they see people who are well adjusted, or a scientist who doesn't seem like a horrible person, it's an opportunity. So I'm glad that they took that opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the idea is to always approach them like a friend, you know, that you are not really trying to deconvert them, or you are not really trying to bring them out of Islam. That's
Hmm.
not how I do it. I just simply am the person, like even in real life, if we ever meet me, I hope we do. If you ever meet me, you will realize that you can literally share anything to me. And I'm like one of the person who would never ever like backbite or, you know, like threaten you. Or like even if you are asking some of the stupid questions, I would never ever belittle you. So the people around me, they are aware of this. So some of my relatives who realized that I pulled myself away from them and I started like living a very non-religious life, they started suspecting that I became an atheist.
Hmm.
And when they started like, we have been talking for, of course, last few years with some of my relatives, and they noticed that I don't anymore say Alhamdulillah or Mashallah. So they noticed it. They clearly noticed it. And then yeah, so they started asking questions like, you know, why is it so that like I just feel like you are not really religious? Why is it so?
Hmm.
So then I will like go step by step. I'll be like, oh, that's a very nice question. Why are you? Why do you believe like, no, but I mean the universe must have a creator. I was like, then okay, so who created the creator? Because something must be there to create it, right?
I mean, I find that there's ways out of that part of the conversation, because they say, well, there has to be something to begin with, and that is the something. But I just don't bother getting them into these loopholes. I ask them, well, how do you know it's your creator? Like, how do you know it's this one? And that
Yeah,
usually gets them thinking.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
depends a lot on the person's background. So, for example, some of my relatives are good in one field, and if I know something relevant to Islam that contradicts what they know, I will just like put it up. For example, if someone is a biologist, I'll just quickly take them to these problems that is relevant there. If they are, for example, from physics background, I'll quickly take them to these claims that God created humans and first created sky or whatever, you know, then heaven, or these contradictions. I'll take them there. So that also helps. Like you have to understand what this person will take something as relevant. If they already know something, if they already have knowledge of something, all you have to do is something contradicting to their, you know, that's all. You don't really have to talk about the whole Quran. You just put one seed of doubt and they're out of Islam.
Right.
And then
It's
what
something that's
happens?
most relevant to them, is what you're saying, or something they're most
Exactly.
knowledgeable on, or yeah.
Exactly. For example, when my friend kind of, I didn't even notice this was happening. I told you that one evening I was just talking with a friend, you know, and he was a scientist. He's a scientist also, and how he kind of made me realize that I'm not a believer anymore, because I was in a state of denial. Like I kind of knew that these all things are man-made, but I wasn't really completely ruling out the fact that Allah just simply doesn't exist,
Hmm.
So he basically just picked one verse from Quran, nothing else, just one verse. And he was like, just look at it, you're a physicist. So just look at it for some times. What, does it make sense to you? It's like, I said, like, no, it's clearly wrong. Then he was like, okay, so if there is like there is a creator, there is some kind of intelligent brain or some kind of intelligent mind. And like I work in, okay, I have no problem to give out this much of information. Like I work in accelerators, on accelerators. So I build accelerators and
Particle
detectors.
accelerators.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he knows that I have certain specialization in that field. So he kind of pointed towards that. He was like, you are literally working on Big Bang theory. And then he pointed, it's like, do you really think if you were the creator of some kind of species, would you test them? Would you punish them? I was like, no. Then he said, like, if just a random human being like you, a random scientist like you is this kind, don't you think that the God we are talking about here is way too judgmental, like a selfish human being? And I was like, yeah, that's true. Why does this God even want, like, I'm all the time doing amazing things, but I never feel that I need to discover something to control it or to manipulate it or to like destroy it. That is not the reason why I created. So he actually started working very, very like subtle, like a discussion, and slowly made me realize at once that, like, guess what? I'm not really a Muslim.
Well, I
I
have a
don't think.
question for you. If somehow in your field of research, and this is very far-fetched and sci-fi, but if your work somehow led to some miniature ecosystem, coming to existence or something like that, uh, would you, even if you were responsible for it, it's like you're the one who made it happen, you take all the credit, for the last steps or whatever. Do you feel like you need validation from what you created?
Not at all. And that's what we see almost every day, like in nuclear research or accelerator research or any of these big research. People work very hard. They work really, really hard, but nobody tries to take credit of everything.
Mhm.
And if you dig into, for example, the powerful accelerators we are building, imagine like we are literally creating like explosions similar to something similar to Big Bang. But if you ever meet a single physicist, would you see them egoistic at all? Do they, for example, just come and tell everybody else how great they are and the rest of the people are stupid? They would never do that.
I mean, I can imagine there might be examples who do, but the average or the majority wouldn't, which,
Yeah.
but comparing it to one perfect God, you would expect better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just simply not possible, because even if I think of myself like I'm just a random person, a random scientist, not also one of the best. I'm just a young scientist. I just began my scientific work, right?
Right.
And then if I think about myself as a like creator of a small ecosystem, I'll do everything I can to sustain it and to be fair towards it. Not to fry them or judge them or kill them or tell each other to, just you need to be behind each other, and not at all.
And would you
Not,
waste your time with an experiment you already know the results
not
of?
at all. No.
Yeah, exactly.
I would get bored. Once I see there is an ecosystem, okay, well, I know already what happens there. I roughly know. Maybe I'll keep tracking what's going on there, but that's it. I'll move on to the next one.
It's not the obsession of your whole existence. It's not the point
Not
of
at
your
all.
existence. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a more like of a narcissists have this like obsession with things, right? To manipulate. I felt like Allah or God was that kind of character.
Yeah.
Like so obsessed that he created one thing, and he's so proud. He's so toxic. Like he needs to tell everybody how great he is. That reminds me of sometimes, like I remember a few years ago, I met a flat earth believer in New York. I had like a scientific conference there, and one of my friends just thought, hey, yeah, you are a physicist, right? One of my friend actually doesn't believe earth is round, so can I bring him? I was like, oops. But he brought him anyways. The dude talked to me for about 3 hours, and he simply did not believe that I'm a physicist. I was like, I work there, here. He's like, but you guys are creating devils in that tunnel, you know. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm literally working there. I came to this country, USA, to attend the conference, dude.
Hmm.
You know, all of these are like devilish and stuff like that. So I mean, and this guy had absolutely no clue how math works. He has absolute no knowledge of even middle school science.
This
But
sounds
he's
like a
not.
lot of dawah people. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, like I was talking the entire time, and he kept yelling to the top of his lungs. Although I'm trying to calm him down, trying to kind of show him why Earth is wrong. Then I just told him, you know what? Like I just am very very lucky. I wasn't born in your place. That's what I told him.
Ouch.
Like at least, yes, I was born in a Muslim family. I had my own very 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 difficult journey, but I'm just lucky I wasn't born in your home because you are literally homeschooling your young children. At
Yeah.
least my family sent me to a school.
Oh, he's homeschooling them. That's
Yeah,
oh
because
god.
he doesn't believe any schools out there. He thinks all of these schools are like evil. These science museums, all of these are like just spreading propaganda, you know. And this NASA is like literally like building these movies, like a theater. All of these are basically just movies, you know. Nobody ever went to space. And I was like staring at him. Then I called a friend who is working in NASA. I just told him that, can you just come over? Like he was in New York, coincidentally. I said, can you just come over? He came there also from NASA, but this guy wouldn't believe. No, 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 I don't. I was like, okay, but that's how delusion works. If a mind is deluded, you can bring all the scientists in front of them, you can bring all the inventions in front of them. Delusional minds don't really understand logic. They
You
have
know, I have a
already.
question for you since you're a scientist here. So, and I know you're not a biologist, but do you think there's any biological component to the way that this person turned out the way that they are? I know that there's like a nature and nurture argument that part of it maybe have been their upbringing, but in other words, do you think he has the free will to escape this mentality?
Can you repeat once again?
Sure. This person that you were talking to, the flat earther, in many ways analogous to a lot of mentalities that we see in our communities, unfortunately. Sometimes about the flat earth and NASA and the moon splitting and stuff, and sometimes just unrelated topics. Do you see that this kind of person is biologically the way that they are? Do you think that they have a say in it, or do you think they have the free will to escape this mentality?
Well, first of all, I would like to answer this in two steps, okay? Because I want people to understand um, that sometimes we have this idea that if somebody is a believer of absurd ideas means they are stupid. Not necessarily.
Hmm.
Sometimes you can be a person with very very high IQ, but what actually happens in the human brain is a condition called cognitive dissonance. This is actually a real thing, okay? So you just go to Google and read a bit about cognitive dissonance. What happens, I'll say in a very very layman term, is that the logic centers of your brain completely shuts down when you hear something that defies what you believe in, that doesn't agree with what you believe in. So your brain sees something that goes against your belief, and all the logic, the part of your brain that process like logically thinks, it already shuts down. And what flares up is aggression, like you become sentimental, your emotion kind of spikes up. Okay, so this cognitive dissonance is one of the reasons why people, if they hear an opposing view to their belief, they just cannot anymore process information, and they just jump towards this very aggressive mood, like, oh, you are hurting me, oh, you are like whatever phobe, or you know what I mean. So just to shut down the conversation, that is the first thing. Now the second thing you asked is biological. Here we have nothing to believe. I will just try to make it short and concise. But the point is, like, we human beings are basically apes, great apes, right?
Hmm.
So If you look at the animal kingdom, not all animals have similar abilities. Not all animals are able to jump with equal strength. Not all animals have equal levels of IQ. Similarly, we humans do not have equal capacity to, for example, understand mathematics or to understand very, very complicated ideas. Uh, and there is one idea now we have right now. I think it's becoming very prevalent these days that even academicians feel very uncomfortable to talk about it, because as soon as we start talking about different abilities of people, um, some people try to generalize it to, oh, are you saying that we are not equal? There is nothing, no similarity between equality and ability. Just because we have different abilities doesn't mean that we are not equal. Every human being is equal to each other, deserves equal rights, but that doesn't mean every human being has equal capacity, brain capacity or physical capacity, whatever you say.
You know, I wrote that down as you were talking about it because of that unease. I felt a little bit of that. And I wanted to ask you, or yeah, to further explore that a little bit, because I don't want to stray too far away from the topic. But I think people are uneasy because if you are able to, or some people might want to categorize or measure that difference and then discriminate based on that difference, right? I know that's not what
Exactly.
you're saying, but yeah.
Exactly. And that's why even scientists are very, 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 like, if you meet me in real life and if I had to, for example, show my face and stuff, I wouldn't even talk about it. Because sometimes people will literally take it out of the whole thing and say that, oh, do you mean that we are less than you? Just because you are a physicist, you are better than us. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Hmm.
What I'm saying is that my entire life, when I was growing up all these years, I come from a very, very oppressive society. Okay, I wasn't born in United States of America. I wasn't born in one of the developed countries, by the way. I was born in a very, very oppressive society, a woman in a Muslim family that did not believe or still do not believe in equal rights of women. Still, I was one of the best science students my school ever saw,
Hmm.
and I was one of the topper in my country. When I came abroad, also I was one of the topmost student in my university. No matter where I went, the speed at which I could solve mathematical or complex problems is simply better than others. But that doesn't mean that all of a sudden I'm more superior. No, my ability to solve problems, scientific problems, is better than others. But I won't be able to run like Usain Bolt, for example. So people have different abilities, and that's a fact. People have different abilities. Their brains are not same. Their IQs are not same. That doesn't mean they are not equal. That doesn't mean they deserve less respect. So this is something we have to very, very much like understand, because um, uh, this is where I think the confusion comes. Like, first of all, people don't understand that cognitive dissonance is a real thing, and sometimes even very, very smart people can be trapped there, and it takes time for them to come out. And also, there are people who simply are not capable of understanding the level of maths it requires to understand Big Bang. Okay. They may look at the numbers. For example, right now I can say, okay, 10 to the power minus 43. They wouldn't be able to process in their head how small of a number that is. Okay. It just simply takes them longer time. Sometimes you have to write down all the 43 zeros, to show them what it looks like.
Or like a graphic representation of it,
Yeah.
some kind of video, or because I
Yeah.
have some difficulty with that as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just the ability different. And as I told you, like, well, I'm very good with cracking equations. Yeah, I'm very good with cracking mathematical problems. That doesn't mean I can crack everything. That doesn't mean I'm good at everything. So it has nothing to do with superiority, but ability. We have different abilities, so we are good at different kinds of things.
Mhm.
Now, yeah. So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. So I think my question was, well, sort of answered it. So do you think that he has the free will to escape his mentality? So that kind of
Well,
person.
first, I
Mhm.
don't think he's stupid. I really don't think so. because
No,
he
no, it's
was
not about his intelligence, but like, does he
yeah,
have
yeah,
the free will given his
yeah,
upbringing, given
exactly.
whatever got him there?
Yeah, I think just simply he wasn't really willing to. He wasn't really willing to kind of challenge his own views. That's the point. He just built a shield around him that everybody's lying to me. Everybody's lying to me. The media is lying to me. This girl in front of me is lying to me. You know, everybody is like playing games around me. So he did not believe any of us.
So, can you think of a way to get them out of that mentality?
Well, actually, in that case, one of the most effective thing is that when somebody closest to them kind of talk to them. I have noticed, for example, some of my family members, 2 or 3, they were similar. Like they were like some of the believers, like they actually believed in different kinds of conspiracy theories before. No, not maybe that level because they are still, you know, highly educated, but they believed conspiracy theories like, oh, all Jews are this and that. You know what I mean? So very, very anti-Semitic rhetoric they believed in. But when I started talking with them, and since I'm like a close relative, of course, they felt more comfortable talking to me, and they were like truly shocked. Like I can even, you know, call them out. Like, hey, you are being racist. This is wrong. The way you're thinking about Jews, you know.
So you need to hijack some kind of, and I don't use the word hijack in a negative connotation, but you need to hijack this entry kind of way of vulnerability, I suppose, of a personal relationship or a trust to be able to get
Exactly.
them to think.
Somebody they trust.
Okay.
Somebody they kind of somewhat trust that, okay, this person at least can't lie to me, because their entire point of this belief that everybody else is lying is that they are not really able to trust others. So no matter what way I tried to explain him that I'm working, you know, there in the accelerator lab, and this other guy is working in NASA, he doesn't believe any of us, no matter
Yeah.
what we do.
I can personally attest to that. Even when I was doing live streams on TikTok, at first people would be very hostile, but if they spent like 10 minutes on my stream hearing me talk, having a conversation, they don't trust me per se, but they start to dismantle this image of complete distrust that they have, that single thing you're saying is a lie, especially when it, you know, when we're talking about topics that are not specifically something they're rejecting, you know, something more personal about myself or not Islam related. And once they have that little bit of trust, they let their guard down enough to start actually engaging with the question or with the thought. So I could definitely see that happening. And I ask because I'm trying to get other people's insights, because I feel like some of those cases are just, I don't want to say hopeless cases, but that's the thing. I don't want to see them as hopeless cases. I want to be able to get them to think critically. But I guess the answer is you need some trust, either establishing it or using a vessel of trust that already exists.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything that was on your mind that you wanted to get off your mind?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would like to urge other ex-Muslims to be strong. You know, like um, I remember, I remember one guy. He suicided, and it hurt me a lot. You know, he was a ex-Muslim, and he was going through a like this depression, and he didn't have really friends to talk to. I didn't know him for long. I think I knew him for only a few days through a friend or something. So he wasn't anybody very close. But when I heard about his suicide case, I felt very bad, and I felt like I really need other ex-Muslims to realize this, that it's not all dark and gloomy. And imagine, as a woman, if I could get out and actually build a career and proudly announce to my family that, hey, guess what? I'm not anymore Muslim, okay? And they can't touch me because now I'm so much far away from them. And I'm so much, like, I'm already established. I have such a strong community, they can't do anything to me, okay? So they know that. So they want to make a fuss about it. So it is possible. It's not impossible. And even if you can't do it, at least build your life and, you know, become independent. And as Aladdin said, I would also urge it. Success doesn't mean leaving Islam, and success doesn't mean you are helping others to leave Islam. Those are just side effects, you know. of you growing up, you like coming out of your comfort zone. When you are trying to come out of your comfort zone, in that process you leave Islam and you uh, encourage others to kind of think critically. Yeah. But what your achievement is to go where you want to go and leave a mark to this planet. Like, there are so many problems to solve in this world. If there is something you can do, we need a lot of people who can do something and not just call God, you know.
Mhm.
We need more people who can act and do something for human beings. There are so many unresolved problems, so many things that we need to solve. So I would urge ex-Muslim men and women to be strong, to do what you do the best, to build your skills, to build a very strong network, to become independent, to extend your network beyond your community and around the world, like-minded people with similar abilities. For example, if you are a good sportswoman, try to find out other people who are also similarly talented as as yourself. You know, it will help you to kind of go step by step ahead,
Mhm.
and never be in this bubble. Some ex-Muslims I have noticed tends to be in this bubble that the life is hopeless and now I don't have much, you know, to look forward to because things are not like before. Things are never going to be like before. That's the fun part of life. You get to experience different kind of things when you come out of religion and you experience it, and in your one life you do everything that you can do to achieve the best for yourself and for others. So thank you so much for giving me the platform to say this, and
Of course.
I
Thank
wish
you
you all
for
the
being
best.
here. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I wish you all the best, and I really enjoy because you know you and I think Infidel Nurul's also bringing more and more ex-Muslim men and women to talk. I really love the idea. I think more and more people, also Muslim men and women, need to hear this. They need to understand that we are just human beings like them. You know,
Mhm.
we are not enemies. We are just brothers and sisters. So it's not impossible that right now, maybe in the live stream, one of my cousins sitting who still doesn't know it's me. So it's just that, you know, don't think of us as an enemy. That's something, a lie that was told to you. Just be open-minded and be welcoming and go through this change slowly. Like, go through it. You have nothing to lose in this journey. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your words of wisdom and your story. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, and have a nice day.
Thanks, you as well. Bye. Okay, thanks again for calling in, the blasphemer. We've got a few comments that I'll go through, and then a few callers in the back. And I'm not taking any more callers, unfortunately. We've got enough enough to join for today. Hey, my cat is awake. Well, good morning, buddy. Okay, so let me read some comments that I noticed. Um, yeah, she bought her mom a Quran, and that's a good step. Muslims should read their own Quran. And about that, so the Muslim apologist in me is already thinking, so I can answer that by saying, so this woman read the Quran on her own for a month and then she left Islam. Why didn't she consult the scholars? Why didn't she do this and that? And I believe that the guest had mentioned that she recommended reading tafsir as well, which is the scholarly work of the exegesis of trying to understand what the Quran means. But all that aside, just to preemptively get ahead of that annoying talking point, if a guidebook from God is so poorly written that in a month of reading it, you misunderstand it so much to the point that you leave the religion and you already are in it. What a poor book that is, right? And the excuse that it's not the original language, like whatever language the guest was saying her mom was going to read it in, that whose fault is that except the author of the book? So just to get ahead of that silly talking point, it seems like a very poorly written book if it's truly the truth, but it's so hard to convey it to even a Muslim who's already a Muslim and has been for most or for all of her life. So yeah, just wanted to get ahead of that. So a question that I have for everyone in the audience here: when I always have my spidey senses tingling when I see someone spelling the Quran that way, saying Quran with a C. every time I've seen it, it's been Christians or somebody else spelling it. Someone whose main language is or first language is English, and it's usually from a Christian background. Do any Muslims or ex-Muslims spell the Quran with a C? So just a question that I had. And let's see. Yeah, when converts do get a copy of the Quran that is translated into their language, usually that ends up in doubt. So I urge all converts to read their Qurans. And let me get to a couple more comments. So Mr. Mia is asking, if I may ask, is the point of this video to show that ex-Muslims can be successful in this life? Yeah, it is a fact that ex-Muslims are, just like any other people, can be successful in life. This is more geared towards success that has to do with this whole, paradigm of Islam and leaving Islam and so on. So yeah, it's to show other ex-Muslims that what happened in some of these stories that they might be able to relate to, or maybe to get some hope from them, or just to celebrate the little wins. So that's the point of that. And yeah, a lot of compliments for the caller, so thank you for joining. And this question I'm not going to answer, but I'll let the caller answer if she's still in the comments. The Blasphemer, what skills/strategies do you use when you get down? I am dealing with this side damage from leaving the cult, and sometimes it gets rough. Practical advice during rougher days. So yeah, I hope that she sees this comment and answers. And Soleil answered me, in French we write Quran with a C. Thank you. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. And Quran would be English. I've seen it in that spelling as well. And seen it spelled like that. So yeah, thank you for correcting me there, or answering me more like. Okay, so I am taking, I believe the next caller is, let me just double check, Shuaib. I'm taking Shuaib in 3, 2, 1. Hey, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes. Can you raise the volume a little bit somehow? Or?
Oh, no, I don't think
Okay.
so.
Let me adjust it then. Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
sorry about that. Yeah,
No
first, big kudos to the previous speaker. I was just listening to your conversation and just wow. Like, yeah, I'm a PhD as well, but just imagining, and I understand my privilege, but imagining someone like her being a woman and going ahead doing PhD and then working in accelerator physics. Wow, it's just amazing.
Yeah. We're always happy to hear success stories, especially from women, especially given that I had asked her, did she have any hurdles, getting to that point of education? And at first she said no, and then she shared that her family wouldn't fund her education except her mom did. Yeah. So I'm glad that she overcame all of that and became who she is.
I had to go through the same as well. Even my PhD was not funded, and I had to figure out funding for myself. But again, I understand my privilege as a man, coming from like an Islamic background, being a female. Yeah, I can just imagine what she went through. And other than that, yeah, thank you so much for doing this. What you're doing is really, really helpful. I look forward to your videos. Yeah, I just wanted to come here and say a big thank you from the bottom of my heart. What you do is just amazing.
Of course, I'm happy to do it.
And just a quick story about me. So I grew up in the Middle East. I'm of Indian background, so I grew up in the Middle East. I had a lot of like Islamic studies and was taught Arabic when I was a child. Moved to India, did my bachelor's, and then I moved to US after that to do my master's and PhD. I became an ex-Muslim in India somewhere around eight years ago. At that time, there wasn't a lot of resources online for ex-Muslims.
Right. Oh, please continue.
Sorry, your video just cut out on my end.
That's okay. Please continue.
There was not a lot of resources, and I used to browse around on YouTube quite a bit. I think Apostate Prophet was just starting out at that time, and there was a bit of Vidovits as well. But now to see the support and the resources. So I'm currently in the US. I joined the Ex-Muslims of North America, so the support here is as well is amazing. So if there are any closeted ex-Muslims, I'd definitely say reach out. probably the best time to become an ex-Muslim is right now.
Yeah. So I haven't personally interacted with them that much, but I'm going to take your word for it. So closeted ex-Muslims, reach out to them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I just wanted to take time out to come here and say big thank you for what you're doing. It requires
Thank you for
lots of guts, and I wish we lived in such a world where you didn't have to cover your face while doing it. But
Yeah.
hopefully we do get there someday.
I hope so. I don't know if I'll take off my mask then, but I hope that happens in my lifetime. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, do you have any, any small success stories along the way, or something that you are celebrating about all of this?
No, not really success stories as such, but very recently, I got to know that I have younger brothers, and I got to know both of them are ex-Muslim as well. So it felt good initially
That's a
when I
success
was
story right there.
Yeah,
Not that they left, but like that you have some, allies, I suppose, in your family.
And especially special to me because I used to think I was alone. I initially, not very recently, but like a few years ago, I used to think, I'm doing this on my own. I'm just being very alone. I'm going against my family tradition and all of that stuff. And now that my brothers are ex-Muslim as well, yeah, it does feel a little bit good. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy that that's how it turned out for you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for calling in. Anything else that's on your mind that you'd like to share?
No, nothing. I think I'd like to give my time to other people who are already in the queue. So thank you again so much for what you're doing, and bye-bye.
Of course. Thanks, Shaib. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So a couple of comments I want to read before we get to the next caller. And by the way, a few people dropped, unfortunately, from the waiting room, so I put the link back in. If you'd like to join, it's pinned in the live chat. And there's a caller in the back. Your camera and audio are not connected, so please try to connect them again. I'll read a couple of comments, and then we'll get to the next caller. So something I wanted to comment about, it's about the blasphemer. She was talking about mention of suicide. So yeah, if you're feeling suicidal, I urge you to reach out for help. And I can't possibly link all the local resources to you, but I hope that you seek them out. And usually they're easy to find. That's the point of them. But I wanted to mention something recently I saw. Unfortunately, there are a lot of Muslims who revel in this idea that there are ex-Muslims who become depressed after leaving Islam. And there are many reasons why that is the case. Not for everyone, of course, and a lot of people, they do get a little sad or a little depressed even, and then they get past it. Some people have already had that depression in them since before leaving Islam. There's so many angles to that. But let me talk about just one angle. If you wake up and you realize that your whole reality is not what you thought, that you've been living a lie for however many years, 20 plus years, and in some cases 30, 40 years, that is so unsettling. Can you imagine if you're a Muslim and you wake up and you realize Hinduism is the truth? Like somehow, some of their gods manifest themselves, and forgive me if I'm misquoting here. I'm not actually describing something accurately. Whatever religion, the God actually comes down and presents to everybody, I am the true God. How unsettling would that be to you? You will probably be depressed and confused too. And then on top of that, imagine everyone around you, or a lot of people around you, looking down on you for that, or bullying you for that, or sometimes ostracizing you, or downright just getting rid of you. Or people, the fact that we have Muslims openly just discussing, oh yeah, we're allowed to execute them or relocate them, that's Nazi language right there. And the fact that it's so normal is depressing on its own. The fact that they're allowed to say this and nobody seems to bat an eye, it almost feels like no one sees you. So when some people are depressed because of all that, that's expected, and we should focus. And even if I wasn't an ex-Muslim, I would focus on trying to help them. But unfortunately, we see a lot of Muslims who are reveling in that. They're happy about it to some extent, or they point to it and they say, see, we told you without Islam, your life is meaningless. This is what happens when you leave Islam. If you leave Islam, you become suicidal, completely missing the point, completely missing that they're exacerbating the situation, missing that it has nothing to do with God being real or with some kind of spiritual connection or some kind of metaphysical matter. There's real reasons for this. So it's really ironically, it's depressing to me to see people revel in it, and then they continue with their lives like they're normal, happy, peaceful people when they're actually, they might be, but they don't realize how horrid religion has made them become, this dogma that they're in. And that is very upsetting. So I wanted to talk about that for a second and acknowledge that yes, depression is a problem, but it's not because God is real and you lose your connection with God and that's why you become depressed. In some cases, people have structure because of Islam or any religion. They have what they think is a personal connection with God. And then when they realize that that was never really true and that they don't have the structure anymore, that can lead to depression. That is one case where this connection with God, though it's not real, losing it does depress people. It doesn't speak anything about the truthfulness of this connection with God or the fact that it's real or just an illusion. So keep that in mind before you say something insensitive or celebrate it as a win for Islam somehow. Just wanted to talk about that. And Hassan Radwan says, depression is a recognized part of the grieving process, which is a similar process many ex-Muslims go through, but it is temporary and a natural stage most pass through. Yeah, I agree. And I will try to put a timestamp here a card, a YouTube card. And I want you to check the channel called Theremin Trees. So he has a background in therapy and mental health. He talks about not specifically Islam. He doesn't talk about disproving religion or anything like that. He does mention Islam sometimes, but the focus of his videos are about dealing with emotional manipulation, leaving a cult, for example, which becomes relevant when we're talking about leaving Islam, emotional blackmail, that kind of stuff. So I urge you to watch his channel if you need it. And even if you don't, it can be very valuable information. All right. All that being said, we've got 2 callers now. Well, and a third one just appeared. Soleil, I'm taking you next in 3, 2, 1. Hey, Soleil, how's it going?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hello. I'm fine. Thank you for having me. I'm a French Algerian ex-Muslim, and I left Islam 2 years ago, and it was thanks to YouTubers like you. But I think 2 years ago you were not here.
No, just a year
yet?
and a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it was thanks to other YouTubers, and I read the Quran. In French, we say with the C, Quran, and I read it for the first time at when I was 25 years old.
Oh wow!
Because when I was a boy, I had to learn it by heart without understanding, just in Arabic. And thanks to internet, I had questions in my faith, so I read it. And I was really horrified that it was not a good book. It was a human book for sure. It is disorganized. It is hard to read. It is boring. And how can the ultimate truth about the world is boring? It's impossible.
Right.
So yes,
that's an interesting angle. I never really approached it that way. Yeah.
So I left Islam. I remember the night that I became an apostate. I was speaking to the sky, like Allah, I will become an apostate now. If you don't do nothing, I will become an ex-Muslim. So show me a sign, like and
Who do you think,
nothing happened.
You think you're a prophet or something? Only prophets get to do that.
Yeah. But I was asking for a sign,
Mm-hmm.
So please show me something, a bird, a thunder, I don't know, something. But nothing happened. Allah was sleeping, maybe, but so yeah. So I became an ex-Muslim. but it was really a lonely time for me because I couldn't talk about it with everyone, with my friends, with my family. I kept it to myself, and I had no one to talk to. So I created a group in Discord, and now we are more than 300 French speakers, ex-Muslims, and it's really a big adventure because I began 8 months ago, and now we have a lot of people. I met hundreds of ex-Muslims,
Wow.
and I'm really happy. I'm really happy to meet people like me, and then people who come to me. They have different stories, and the saddest stories are from women. We have women in France, in Salafi families,
Mhm.
who are prisoners in their family. They cannot leave their family. They cannot move in another apartment if they are not married. No, so
It's
really, yeah.
it's unfortunate that even see, that's something that bothers me when people say, "Well, you're not in a Muslim country, so what's the problem?" These issues go
Yeah.
down to every household. Like
Yeah,
it's crazy that people are blind to them in a non-Muslim country. Like these people are past; they don't care about the laws of the country. This
Mhm.
is infringing on personal freedom in so many ways, and it's inhumane. But I'm glad that people are like you are doing their part. I mean, when you mention a Discord community, for example, people have been asking me, "Why don't you create one?" And there's a lot
Oh,
of work that goes into it.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
so much work.
It's my life now. It's
Yeah.
really, but I cannot do it alone. I made like a team. No, it's a teamwork. We are a lot of people of trust, and we can organize. We can also defend ourselves against the bigotry, against racism, because I met like a few apostates. They are crazy, you know. It's not because you are an apostate that I will love you and I will care for you, because there are some apostates that are really. So I keep only the human ones, but it's 99%, of course. But I have to protect this community against bad people.
There's a few people here, by the way, who are already part of that community. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Of course, I called them. I said, "Come."
I'm.
And
I just
so,
want to
yeah.
like highlight how important this is because, I mean, see, I make videos, right, and I can't personally reach out to that many people, and people will scoff at these numbers and be like, "Oh, only 300? There's like hundreds of thousands of ex-Muslims," but
Mhm.
I think it starts with smaller groups like this, and not everybody needs that kind of support. And those who need it, you're reaching a huge number of them. So I really, really personally appreciate you doing something like that. I just wanted to
Thank you.
thank you for it. Yeah.
Thank you. You too. And you know, it's my dream to show my face. Also, you know, to tell the world I'm a free person. I have my opinions. But if I say I'm an ex-Muslim, in France, it is sure I will be killed. There is no doubt. If I, it is really sad. But if my father learns, my father knows I'm an ex-Muslim, he has a heart attack because he will be ashamed, you know, in the family. Like, oh, your son is an apostate. What did you do? You know. So I have a really strict Sunni father, and it's impossible. Oh, and I think that all my uncles will come to beat me, to fight with me.
I'm really
So
sorry to hear that.
yeah. So I prefer to stay discreet, to not say yeah.
Of course. And do you think this is kind of not on topic, but I'm curious to have a French ex-Muslim here. Do you think this kind of climate is why France is so anti-Islam?
Yes, I think it is because when you cannot speak, people will become angry. It's like you have to let people express themselves, or it will they will become angry and be violent and be racist. Yes, in France, it's really special. But that's why I chose this pseudo Soleil apostasy, because Soleil, it means for me it's a good vibe. It's a joy, it's happiness. Because now I'm really happy as an ex-Muslim. We are not. I want to represent something that is positive for ex-Muslim community. And I don't want racist people because they are a shame for us. It is counterproductive. It's the opposite of what we have to do. Like my model is ex-Muslim of North America. They are really good. They are not racist. They say what they feel, what they think, and it's the best way of doing things. I think.
I hope that they gain more traction and just to highlight, you think they're a great model, and yet still Muslims demonize them. Like, and I don't know if you've heard of the recent attack in Canada on a mosque, but some people started coming out and saying people
Yes.
like those are the reason why someone would attack anyone in a mosque. It's because of the ex-Muslims of
Yeah.
North America, which is unfortunate.
Oh. Yeah, I watched your video. They said also that it's because of Abdullah Samir, who is the most peaceful human on the ex-Muslim community. He's really, he's a really good person. And ex-Muslim of North America too. They don't encourage bigotry and violence. On the contrary. So it's really ridiculous what the Muslims said. Like, because of ex-Muslims, now there is a violence. And why don't they speak about ex-Muslims who are persecuted in Muslim countries and everywhere? One time, one Muslim is harmed, and I don't understand.
Yeah, we could do everything. Like, it still shouldn't discourage us from trying to do the best we can, but it's worth pointing out that no matter how much we try, it's not going to. You're never going to be a vocal ex-Muslim the exact way that they want you to, because that way is to just not be a vocal ex-Muslim. So, yeah, just keep doing your part the way that you think is right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we began also doing other things. Like it's been a few months. We created a channel that we interview ex-Muslims, French speakers, ex-Muslims, without showing our faces. It's like a podcast. It's called Témoignages ex-musulmans in French. And we have a lot. We have some. We are like journalists. We ask questions. How did you live your life as a Muslim? Why did you leave Islam? And
by the way,
it's a channel.
Here, I'm going to put a link to it in the comments and up here. So
thank you.
Feel free to put it in the comments now. I don't know if you'll be able to, but in the private chat right now, so I can have it.
Okay, thank you.
Because I want to promote it. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, all right. So I didn't know that you're gonna leave right now. I think something got disconnected, unfortunately. Well, yeah. If there's anything else that you wanted to add in the private chat, please let me know. But thank you very much for joining and for what you do. We've got 3 more callers in the back. I'm taking them in a minute. Let me just read a couple more comments. Thank you, Free Somalia Minds, for the super chat and the compliment. This is a great idea for a stream, they say, and I really wish I could join you, but I want to thank you for your work, and I hope to connect with you soon. I hope that we get to talk soon as well. And one more comment I'll take before the next caller. Let's see. 2012 STVN says, it seems the smart Muslims end up leaving. Why? I disagree. Like the Blasphemer was saying, it's not about intelligence. Cognitive dissonance is not about intelligence. But it's likely that when someone, because how do you even define smart? But if you're associating being educated with smart, I don't know how you define smart. The more educated someone is, the more likely they are to realize that their worldview is not the only one out there, and that other educated people, reasonable people, both reasonable and educated, can have different worldviews. So, yeah, the more that you come across different people and the more you're educated, the more likely you are to leave. So, I don't exactly agree with that statement. Soleil is back. I'm going to put Soleil on for a moment, and then I'll take the next caller. Hey, Soleil.
Hey, am I here?
Yeah, you're here.
Sorry, I made a mistake.
No worries.
So yes, I was talking about our channel that we want to make our voices on internet, because if we are not in the internet, it's like we don't exist, you know. And it was my first wish to, because in French there is not a lot of French content about ex-Muslims. We have like one YouTuber or two, but it's really it's not much.
Mhm.
And if I didn't speak English, I would still be a Muslim now, I think. So
Why is that?
because in French YouTube, there is one YouTuber. He's called Magie du Cacha. He's really good, but he was the only one. So if I see it's the only person who is an ex-Muslim, I think he's wrong.
Yeah, like he's a
he
crazy
cannot.
conspiracy theorist or
Yes,
something.
he's crazy. He's a crazy man. Yes, but in English there are a lot of ex-Muslim YouTubers, and I think the quantity is an argument to, like the Muslims. They say we are soon 2 billion Muslims,
Yeah.
so we are right.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, that way you could turn it back. But it's definitely a bigger issue in like when the numbers are small. Yeah, when it's just one person, then it's a bigger issue than their argument, which is, the more people there are. I don't believe in the numbers argument in general, but I know it's valid when the numbers are very small, or at least like that's what people think. Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy that you do speak English, and now you're porting this knowledge over to the French speaking side of things. And I hope to see more people, having these communities and speaking up in all languages. But yeah.
Yes, thank you. If you speak French, you will have a lot of followers, of subscribers, because we are so desperate to see contents like this. That's why we translate English content into French. Like the videos of ex-Muslim of North America. I translate it. I put French subtitles to make it available for French speakers who don't speak English. And
I'm not sure if you were the one who
yeah.
reached out to me about French subtitles or not. I'm sorry
Yes,
I'm
was
sorry
the
if I
one.
haven't gotten back to you. I'm just very
No,
disorganized right now. But yeah, I'd be happy to work with you on something like that, to just put, French subtitles to reach a French audience, if that would
yeah,
help. Yeah.
because French, it's not only France, it's also North Africa, Switzerland, Belgium, Canada, Quebec, Canada. It's a lot of areas in the world.
Yeah, I would definitely love to help with that. And maybe someday, je ne parle pas français, but maybe someday I'll learn more.
Oh,
I can pronounce it, but I don't know that much.
okay.
Yeah.
Avec plaisir. Bientôt. Thank you for what you do. I love a lot. I love your videos. I follow you. It's really important what you do, and it inspires me to make more. When I see people like you who take risks for yourself, because one time in the comments, someone said, "Apostate Aladdin is in the US, so he's safe." No. I think every ex-Muslims who speak out has a real danger. It's like there is a target like people like Apostate Prophet. It's really dangerous. Huh? So
I
it
mean,
takes a lot
you're
of
aware of
courage.
how dangerous it is in France, right?
Yeah.
But
Because
yeah,
it was it was just a simple teacher of history, But imagine an ex-Muslim; it's worse.
Yeah. It's like a traitor more than an outsider just talking about it. Yeah.
A traitor.
Yeah.
But I think we are not really traitors. We are. I have a theory about it. Like 1400 years ago, when Muslims came in North Africa, they forced Islam onto the population. So I think we ex-Muslims, we are definitely not traitors, because Islam was the religion of our enemies, or our conquerors, conquerors. So we are definitely not traitors. We are free people. If Muslims want to stay Muslim, good for them. I don't care. Just let us speak. Let us express ourselves. And I think if there is a freedom of speech, Islam doesn't stand a chance for me.
I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much, and please don't forget to share with me that link to your channel, and I will promote it here in the video.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Take
See you
care,
soon.
Soleil. Yes, see you soon.
Merci.
Bye-bye.
Au revoir. Ciao.
De rien. Bye-bye. Merci beaucoup, Soleil. Thank you for joining. I will take the next caller, Amira, and then we might have one or two more, but they keep cutting in and out. Amira, I'm going to talk to you in 3, 2, 1. Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Today I just wanted to come in and just say happy Ramadan to those who are fasting today and are in the live chat questioning Islam. Welcome to AA's channel. You'll probably learn a lot.
I love the
from all of
confidence.
Yeah. I just wanted to say hi to everybody, and I wanted to comment on the one thing that was said about depression, that there's this stigma that every one of us just goes through that depression, and I just want to reassure everybody that it's normal, because it is part of the process. Once you go through depression, you'll go then through acceptance, which is the last stage, and that's when that's basically like when true happiness will shine through, and then you'll realize, okay, like I'm accepting the fact that I left Islam. I'm accepting that there might be some relationships that are broken. And then that's when you'll be okay with yourself and then move forward. So that's, I guess, the happiness behind it, or like the light at the end of the tunnel, as you say.
Right. So acceptance that things are going to be different is what you're saying.
Yeah, like accepting that things are going to be different and it's okay. And it might be not, it won't be the same as it used to be, but you'll be maybe more in line with who you truly are, instead of living that fake life, or like a lie, basically.
Right.
So
There
I want
is
to
hope.
comment on that. Yeah.
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 Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Do you want to share an anecdote from your life, a small success for you?
Yeah, like for me, like as I told you last time from our previous live chat, um for me, it's more like just kind of trying to accept that my relationship with my father is not going to be the same. But my success story is that I was able to respect his point of view as he's trying to respect my point of view. He doesn't see eye to eye with me, but we still try to have a relationship. Same thing with my sister. Similarly, like she doesn't see eye to eye. I try to argue some of the things, and I did appreciate the caller that was talking about that even smart people can still fall into that ideology. Doesn't mean that you're dumb because you stay in Islam. It's just that you don't process things the way, let's say, I process things, or the way you process things. And I think put my sister in that category where, like I'll bring up, like, let's say the age of Aisha, or like I'll bring up let's say like, oh, like how come a male is allowed to marry like four females versus the female not, and then she'll argue with me about like, oh well, males have different instincts and blah blah blah, yeah, you're eye rolling, of course. And I was like, well, you can't say that, because there are females that might have like same, like you just can't put yourself in that category. Like you just can't put it all men in that category and all females on that category. Everybody has different instincts. So we
It's a
argue
very
about
simplistic view of gender and humans, right? That this is how males are, this is how females are.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that out there. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us and reminding people of that.
Yeah. I'm not gonna take a lot of your time because you've been here a lot, and there's other callers. So next time probably hopefully I'll be able to join earlier.
Sounds good. Yeah, there'll be another stream in a week. Yeah.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, AA.
Yeah, thanks, Amira. Take care.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, now I'm adding Cosmic Cowboy. Thank you for waiting for a while. And then next, we're going to have Basim joining as well. Okay, Cosmic, I'm adding in 3, 2, 1. Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
Hi, can hear you fine.
Yeah. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. So happy Ramadan to everybody. Well, it's
Happy
a holy month
Ramadan.
for Muslims, so yeah, it's a wish for them. So how are you, Aladdin?
I am doing well. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm also fine. This is actually my first Ramadan as an ex-Muslim, so I'm very excited.
What are you excited about?
I'm excited about sneaking and eating food so that nobody can see me actually.
There's a thrill in that for you?
Well, there are a lot of Muslims around me. My mother is a Muslim, and also people around my neighborhood, they're all Muslim. So yeah, maybe I'll fast. Maybe I'll sneak some food. So,
well, I hope you're successful.
Okay, because I know there are some benefits of fasting, so it has nothing to do with the spirituality for me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. So it's the thing I want to talk about is that the number of ex-Muslim in Muslim countries are rising, and the only reason why people don't publicly apostatize is that the reason I can say is that because publicly apostasy in an Islamic country or even in an Islamic majority country is dealt with death. They are hacked to death. So most of them are afraid to come out as an ex-Muslim. So they remain, they keep it to themselves. Like me, I mean, I cannot go out and say that I'm an ex-Muslim because I know the people, the very people that admire me will then want to have a piece of me. So yeah, I mean, to live in such a society, you just can't risk your life. But many people are ex-Muslim. They are being ex-Muslim because they are not following all the rules of all the Islamic rules. Many people are not even praying 5 times a day. So the number is rising, that is for sure.
But does that make them ex-Muslim in that sense? I mean, they still identify as Muslim.
Not necessarily. They don't. They do identify themselves as Muslim. One thing that I can say is that because coming out as an ex-Muslim in a Muslim majority country is risky. So that can be one thing. And another thing is that most of the people are not even sure about their religious identity.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them are actually ex-Muslim, but they don't even know. I mean, they are not sure about that because they're afraid to lose a community. Because when we become ex-Muslim, the first phrase is the most difficult one. To know that you don't have that big of a community, and it's a difficult one. But it's good that people are actually coming out as an ex-Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
and there are many support groups, and there are many groups in Facebook and many online activists. So I think it's good. It's working, and it's making more people realize that that they can actually identify themselves as ex-Muslim.
Mhm. Well, I wanted to ask you, what is it today that is something that you would identify as your success, a little success out of this process for you?
I think being an ex-Muslim, when I meet a religious person or who is just a semi-religious person, I tend to ask them question about religion, because I have read a lot about Quran and Hadith, and I tend to ask them about those kind of stuff. And when I say that, well, there is slavery, there is child marriage, and this kind of stuff in Quran, they don't even believe me because they don't even read the Quran. So they become surprised, and I think it's good to share this kind of information with them. It will not make them ex-Muslim for any reason, but it will help them realize, people who are in doubt will then go and read and obviously come out as a better person, I guess.
Okay, so your success would be that you've been able to disseminate this information to other people, and they have processed it, and they've become better people because of it.
It's not like that. I mean, I live in a community where it is people are very hostile towards ex-Muslim. So I think the process is slow. I mean, you cannot just go out and publicly apostatize, but there have to be a method method behind it. So I think the first method is not being hostile, but rather, showing them this kind of stuff so that they can understand that, well, this inhuman stuffs are in Quran and Hadith, so they can learn about this information and they can process it in their mind. And the world that we are living in, I mean, with our morality, this kind of stories, this kind of rules cannot be sustained. So at one time, I have seen many people becoming ex-Muslim after reading Quran. So I do encourage people to read Quran, and there are many ex-Muslim, but they don't just publicly come out,
So we've got multiple ex-Muslims on this channel on the first day of Ramadan, encouraging people to read the Quran. That's just ironic.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't read the Quran, then I mean, it's better. I mean, if you are a little educated, I mean, the people who don't use their mind, who don't use their thought process, if you see the majority of the Muslim countries' education rate is not that good, to be honest. So the educated person will not reach into a conclusion instantly. He will take the information, he will justify it, and then reach that conclusion. So I think that's why it is important to read Quran, because if you read Quran, there are many verses with which a modern, sophisticated, and moral person cannot agree. So it will help them become. I'm not gonna say that an ex-Muslim, but a better. They will have a better view about ex-Muslims. They will not be hostile towards ex-Muslim, and they would actually believe that whatever the ex-Muslims are saying is not immoral or not wrong, but rather they're true.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's my in many ways that's my approach to it. Is at least they would understand where we're coming from. They don't even have to agree with us, but they can see that there's a process of assessment here of our beliefs, and that we honestly, this is what we concluded, and I think that is beneficial. So yeah, that would count as a success, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be a very fast process. It's a rather slow process, but it will catch up. I think the numbers are rising, so there are hope. And with the type of things, with the type of laws that Islam has, it cannot sustain for a very long time with the modern society. That is the ultimate truth. So I mean, people can identify themselves as Muslim, but they're not practicing Muslims. People and those who are not too much practicing Muslims, they can be ex-Muslim once they get to know Quran and Hadith.
Yeah.
So that's why I encourage people to read Quran and Hadith and not listen to the so-called scholars who just cherry pick and show the good stuff.
Yeah. I agree
So
with that, and I think that's the ironic takeaway from this stream is that we're recommending reading the Quran.
yeah, I mean, you can say that
Yeah.
because there are many verses which are very violent, and no sane-minded person can actually agree with those verses. I mean, a God. I mean, what kind of a God always want attention? I mean, it just I never understand that kind of God.
You know, I think we put too much emphasis, not that it's not important, but on the violence part of the Quran. But there's a lot more that has to do with just the silliness of the behavior of this God, right? Or
Yeah,
the arguments that this God has that, in my opinion, is more convincing to, or was more, more, it really shook me out of my belief more than any violence in the Quran. Because if you justify this violence in your head somehow, it's fine. But how do you justify, a God speaking like that or sounding so silly or dumb, So I think those parts need to be highlighted even more.
yeah,
The
it's like
logic of God.
yeah, it's like God acting like my ex-girlfriend always wanted attention. It's
Yeah.
it's very funny and stupid at the same time. And I find it it never, I cannot comprehend it. How can people believe in a cult like this? I mean, Islam is a cult. You can't leave a cult, so you can't leave Islam. How can people believe something like this? It just blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I just remind myself of how I used to believe in it, and the more I speak to people, the more I understand of why they do believe in it or used to, and so on. So that's why these conversations are important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think these conversations are very important. And I think as we are learning and as we are as the rate of education, if the rate of education goes up, more and more people will get away from Islam. I have seen that happen in the society. I have seen that people who believe in Islam blindly, they are not that much educated, but the educated person, they do also believe in Islam, but they question it, and by questioning it, you can come out as a better person. That's what I can say. And yeah, I mean, that's it. The type of society that I live in, if I come out as an apostate, people would be crazy to lynch and hack me to death. This kind of things happened in my country for quite a long time. But the good thing is that our government is quite strong in this manner, and they are dealing it with a strong hand. So
I'm glad to hear that, and I hope they truly are,
yeah,
getting a
I
handle
mean,
on it.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing that it is happening. And the one problem that I can say is that being an ex-Muslim is that to live in a community and have friends, and sometimes they don't like if you say that you were an ex-Muslim, they treat you badly. So that can be disappointing and depressing. Other than that, being an ex-Muslim is the best thing that you can do. You don't have to fear about the afterlife. You don't have that obligation of praying 5 times. You don't have no obligation towards any kind of religious practicing. So it's good. It's just so relieving. I think every ex-Muslim feel this once they get through that depression phase. So if you're an ex-Muslim and if you're going through that phase, just hold on. It will get better to know that there is no afterlife. And if you drink water standing, you will go to hell. If you listen to music, you'll go to hell. If you dance, you'll go to hell. So this kind of things, if you draw a picture, you'll go to hell. So this kind of silly things can lead you to hell. So you don't have to have that fear anymore once you leave Islam.
I agree. Yeah.
And I also support you for whatever you're doing. It's very good to
Thank
see
you.
people coming out and speaking on behalf of us. I mean, many of us don't have that privilege to come out public and speak. So giving us a voice is very important. And I have been following you from the very start, and I like your content. You are not like other ex-Muslim who are very too hostile toward Islam. I mean, that is not the way to make people realize that Islam is false. I think we have to have a discussion with them, and that is the only way to make people agree with our morality.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that.
Thank you. I'm not going to take any more time. So best of luck and goodbye.
Take care and have a good one. Bye-bye. Okay. Thanks again for joining. You got a couple more callers, but I wanted to comment on this. So Nemo the Mulhid says, understanding the Quran is more important for those of us Arabic is not their first language. For many years, I memorized the Quran, but didn't know what it meant. Yeah, I keep hearing that again and again. And I personally, I was memorizing the Quran growing up, and I understood Arabic, and you'd still understand bits and pieces of the words that you're reading, but you don't understand the full picture. You don't understand what is the backstory, because Quran is such a great book. There's no context in between the verses. You have to go and consult other verses and consult other tafsir and the hadith and see when did this verse come to Muhammad, come down from Jibreel or from Allah through Jibreel. And so a lot of it I memorized, and then years later I realized what it meant, and I was thinking to myself, that's horrible that they not only did they let me memorize that it took space in my mind, and that's what I was reading. Like, there's a verse, I don't know if I can recall it off the top of my head right now, but now I can't recall it off the top of my head, but I was researching for this video that's coming up. I'm going to have a whole series on the Prophet Muhammad during Ramadan, so stay tuned. It's coming up very soon. But there was a verse, without giving out too many information, about Muhammad emotionally blackmailing his wives. And I memorized that and repeated it, and I would like sing it, with just make sure that it sounds great. And I would listen to it. And I didn't realize that the ramifications of this blackmail, this emotional blackmail. So yeah, it's a little upsetting. And I hope that those who don't speak Arabic at all one day stop just reading and memorizing and actually start reading it in their language and look into the backstory. So yeah, I'm adding CPT in a few seconds. CPT 3, 2, 1. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, nice. Happy to be on stage
Can
today.
you move a little bit further away from the microphone, because your breath is in the microphone a bit?
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, a bit far away right now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could still hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, you will be a little bit surprised just because I'm not a Muslim. I am not an ex-Muslim, but I'm an ex-Christian.
Okay.
But anyway, if I joined this podcast today, this is just the reason is just that I just find that we just have many similarities, because when you come out of a monotheist religion, so anyway you start to realize that the life is really simple, and that is the same things that ex-Muslim are doing right now. When apostate from Islam talking about the Quran and all the stupidities that they could find in that book, it is exactly the same that I just find in the Bible. The Bible is not written exactly like the Quran. It is there is no language for a better understanding of the Bible. But sometimes Christians just have the same problem. They have the same problem of understanding. And you have the same problem in the Quran. And the Bible is exactly stupid like the Quran. I'm so sorry to say, when you hear in the Bible that somebody just came to the world through a spirit, a woman get pregnant by a spirit, that guy grew up, just turned the water in wine and walk on water, and hey, stop telling me that it's not true.
Yeah, we're very familiar with similar stories in Islam.
Yeah.
Well, okay, to keep it to the topic of this conversation,
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're not an ex-Muslim, but can you share a success story from
Yeah.
leaving Christianity in your life?
Can you say it again, please?
Yeah, can you share a success story? So the point of the stream is, ex-Muslims sharing success stories. But in your case, you're an ex-Christian. Can you share a success story about you leaving the religion or something that has improved since then?
Yeah. So anyway, leaving the religion anyway just make me a little bit more intelligent and have such an awareness about many things
Yeah.
right now. So what do you want to say
Your
something?
voice is cutting in and out. Sorry, can you repeat that? So you said, I don't
So
quite agree, but you said it makes you more intelligent, but thinking differently, you said?
intelligent, yes. Just because you don't have any kind of ideology stopping you or preventing you to accept some logical things, because the religion prevent you from thinking for yourself, because thinking is in a certain way is seen when it is going in that direction to prevent you to accept the ideology, because the ideology is something that's prevent people to think for themselves. That is the problem. When you are in an ideology, you have to think in accordance with the ideology, not by yourself. Thinking by yourself in a certain way to reject the teaching, your God, and all the opinion and the all those things that has been taught to you. That is the problem with it. That's why I came
I
out.
somewhat agree. I think people still have other ideologies that get in the way or could get in the way in
Yeah,
the future, but it is
yeah,
a huge one that's out of the way. Yeah, so it's fewer restriction on how you think and less thought crime potential. You know, you don't have to worry about is
yeah,
this thought blasphemous or wrong or not.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's
wrong
true.
religiously. I mean, yeah.
And when I'm talking, I come today just because, when I left the Christianity, then I told it to my Muslim friends, and all of them just want to drag me in the Islam. They try it. And they start talking about good things in Islam, good values, and all those things. But, before spousing, before joining something, it is better sometimes to make its own research to know exactly what is this thing before joining it. But all the time they just wanted to prevent me to think before joining. And I said to them, please let me look myself, let me observe it before joining it. And they said, you just have to trust. Why should I have to trust before getting enough information to secure myself first before getting into it? Why do you want to prevent me? And I just find it so suspicious. It's so suspicious. And when I could open the Quran for the first time through the videos of Majid Ukasha, it was an ex-Muslim in France, and I could explore the Quran, and I just realized that book I just found things inside that book that could not match to the way I am, to the way I just interpret the life. You understand what I mean?
Your reality, basically.
Yeah, the reality basically. For example, for me, it is no reason to kill somebody. That is an example. No reason, absolutely no reason. But if in a book you can notice that a God could justify that you kill, and justify that somebody could kill just because he is his messenger, just because of it, I am sorry, I cannot follow such a God. I can't. You understand?
I'm glad that you realized all of that before getting yourself into another religion. But sometimes, having left a religion makes you more likely to notice these things in the next one. So I'm glad that was the case for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can tell you, you can find the same things in the Bible. When you hear people saying the Bible is more friendly than the Quran, it is wrong, my friend. It is wrong.
I know. Yeah.
Please go. Please go to the Old Testament. Go to the Old Testament, and you will have the feeling that you are reading the Quran. It's the same.
Well, thank you for joining us today, CPT. I just I want to keep it more on topic today, so I'm gonna have to
no problem.
check in with the next caller. So thanks for joining.
But anyway, we just want to tell you, my friend, I love you all. I love you all, my friends. We are coming from different religion, but I can call you my friend and my brothers today because you have the same values right now. You have the same values. And I just encourage you to keep your eyes open and to help other people who are still in the darkness. You are doing a very good job, and you will always get my support in any way.
I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take care, CPT.
Welcome.
Bye-bye. So I read this comment saying, "Love you all" sounds like a Christian. I think that's a side effect of Christians kind of monopolizing on this idea that love is a Christian concept or something, or that kindness is so Christ-like. I don't like hearing that, because Muslims also use a similar narrative. Like sometimes it's used as a compliment. They'd say, "Oh, there's still some Muslim in you," or "there's still Islam in you." You can't just take credit for a lot of sentiments that people have in general, not just religious people. But yeah, very kind of him to say. And I had no idea. Well, the weird thing is I promoted Secular Spirits live stream on my Instagram account, and I forgot that I thought my stream was only going to be 2 hours or something. Like I didn't think of it. So there's a stream Secular Spirit is doing right now. You should go watch it. I am ending the stream right now, partly because of that, and partly because the last caller has not clarified. They haven't responded to the private chat, so I'll have them join, I suppose, the next time possibly. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining today. We got some stories from ex-Muslims. There's going to be a similar stream a week from now. Stay tuned to my channel. Just turn on notifications, check my uploads every now and then, because I will have a lot more videos for you this Ramadan. I appreciate you being here. And oh, we do have James. Okay, fine. For everyone who hasn't left yet, we will take James in a second. James, can you clarify if you're an ex-Muslim or not? Because I do want to keep it on point today. You know what? I might just have to end it here just because of the time constraints. Okay, it is an ex-Muslim. All right. I will add them on just because I promised them. So, hey, James, how's it going? Okay, James has left. They plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners, as they say. Thank you, everyone, again for joining. Take care, and go check out Secular Spirits live stream. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.